All right, welcome back to Whence, a Freemasonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. I'm your host, Brother Robert Johnson. This is episode 152. So first, we have a couple things going on in the news. I did want to mention that illustrious Brother Stephen L. Harrison, contributor to the Midnight Freemasons blog and also in the Working Tools magazine, as well as several other publications. He's actually the editor for the Missouri Freemason magazine as well. He is the author of Freemasonry Crosses the Mississippi, and he actually just finished a brand new book. And what we've got is some really exciting news about it. Basically, the book is based on his awesome blog, The 1 Minute Mason, which is password protected, and it's basically his thoughts and where he stores a bunch of his ideas. Some of the Missouri Lodge of Research members do have access to his blog, and I will read you a little snip from his blog to give you kind of an idea of what this new book is. It's really cool. It is based on great research, and one of the books that kind of was a catalyst for him to start this was a book that the Missouri Lodge of Research printed, and it was called Did You Know? And from what Steve tells me is that particular book is a book which is got some comics in it and depicts Masons in situations to convey interesting tidbits about Masonry that you may not have known, like the name suggests. So perhaps I could best describe this book by reading a short piece that's on the 1 Minute Mason. This post was originally posted on October 21st, 2012, and it's called The Dinner. Upon the publication of his iconic book, Up From Slavery, Booker T. Washington, a Massachusetts Prince Hall Freemason, became the first African-American to dine at the White House. Brother Theodore Roosevelt invited him to an auspicious dinner, there amidst segregationist protests and some of the most vile and acerbic racial rhetoric in the history of the United States. So that's the end of the post, and you can see just how these little neat stories kind of motivate your mind into thinking about Masonic history and all kinds of really neat stuff. So basically, it is a necessity for all Masons. I think it's going to be a great book. It is just a ton of cool in one book. So if you buy the beta version of this book, which I believe is going to be $3, it does update automatically when he does the updates to the book. Right now, it's in a beta phase, but you can still pick it up until September 1st. And I do want to mention that Brother Stephen L. Harrison gave me an incredible offer, which was that for every one of these ebooks he sells until September 1st, he would like to donate $1 to Whence KMU's operating fund. I can't thank you enough, Brother Steve. The book is going to be amazing, and if you guys get a chance, please go to Amazon.com, type in Freemasons, Tales from the Craft by Stephen L. Harrison, or just Stephen L. Harrison, and you'll see both of his books. You can buy Freemasonry Crosses the Mississippi in Kindle or in paperback. You can buy Freemasons, Tales from the Craft, which is currently only going to be on Kindle until later on, where it will be published by the Missouri Lodge of Research as well. So I hope you guys go pick that book up. Also in book news, a good friend of mine who publishes under the name Brother Tech is also coming out with a new book. In fact, it is out right now, and it's called A Christian's Perspective on Masonic Symbols, the Square and Compasses, and it's a Kindle edition as well. And it is written for the Christian Mason. Very good, very interesting. I highly recommend it. The cost on that book is $3.99. And also, Brother Tech is being incredibly generous and is also donating $1 to WCY's operating costs for everybody who buys the book for a little while. So I just want to say thanks to both Brother Stephen L. Harrison and Brother Tech for your awesome contributions. And I can't thank you enough. And everybody out there, please go pick up these two books. They are amazing books to have in your Masonic library. So in other news, it actually made Chris Hodap's blog, Freemasonry for Dummies, and we talked a little bit about it last week on the Masonic Roundtable. Brother Charles Harper, who is a good friend of mine and fellow brother at the Valley of Chicago Scottish Rite, started a White House petition. If you guys are not familiar with this, the White House takes petitions from anybody in the United States, and if it gets 100,000 signatures, the White House will write a response. So Brother Harper started a petition, and it's called The Prevention of Fraud Being Committed by Organizations Falsely Presenting Themselves as the Fraternity of Freemasons. So basically what this petition is all about is creating laws to stop people from creating false lodges. So essentially it attacks the clandestine lodges around the United States. The exact text from the post on the White House page is, Grand Lodges of Freemasons began in 1717 in London, England. All Grand Lodges in the world must have a direct lineage to this Grand Lodge to be Masonically legal. This process is proving legitimate origins and has been upheld in the case of Supreme Grand Lodge of Modern Free and Accepted Masons of the World versus Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Georgia, docket number 14374, United States Court of Appeals, 5th Circuit. Other courts have established this precedent as well. There are only 94 legal Grand Lodges in the United States, the Prince Hall Grand Lodges and the State Grand Lodges, all having legitimate origins from the Grand Lodge of England. But more than 450 fraudulent Grand Lodges exist, unregulated, committing extreme hazing and fraud on unsuspecting men. Stop the fraud. It was created on July 5th, 2014. So far, at the time that I'm reading this to you, there are 492 signatures of the 100,000 needed. So however you feel about that, let me know. I have mixed feelings about it a little bit on a national level. I think it's more of a state-by-state thing. But again, let me know how you feel on Facebook or on Twitter at the handle @Whence. We can talk a little bit about it through the social media if you like. Additionally, you can go to the White House page and you can search for that petition, or you can head on over to Freemasonry for Dummies, the blog page by Brother Chris Hodap, and he has a link to it right there as well. I think it's worth checking out. So the first piece for this week is kind of for lodge beginners, folks who can't remember, and even those just interested in the fraternity. I thought the paper was quite appropriate. We haven't done a paper for the brand new Mason or the non-Mason in quite a while. So this one goes out to those guys, and it's called Walkabout. This short talk bulletin has been printed with permission from the Grand Master's Eye Opener, a publication of the Grand Lodge of Canada in the province of Ontario. It is actually a talk given to the candidates at the conclusion of an entered apprentice degree. This talk was prepared by Right Worshipful Brother Edward Peters, a past District Deputy Grand Master in Ontario. Now, before I get into this, I do want to address the fact that this was given at the conclusion of an EA degree. However, I will not be revealing anything that is not already out there in libraries. I will not be giving away any secrets about handshakes or passwords or anything like that. So anybody that maybe jumped up a little bit, their ears perked up when they heard me say that, rest assured we will not be revealing anything of the sort. So on with the paper. The officers' stations and jewels will not be the same in every jurisdiction, but the talk can certainly be changed to conform to the custom and practices of your own jurisdiction. It is not ritual, but merely an informal presentation of some very valuable and useful information to the candidate. End of the editor's note. When I first became a Mason, it was a good number of months before I understood the function of each officer and the various furnishings about the lodge. So tonight, we are going to show you around, so to speak, in the hope that when you come to the lodge next month, you will feel comfortable and more at home amongst your brethren. This area of the lodge is known as the East, and it will come as no surprise to you that our master sits in the East, since all learning emanated from the East. Our master is elected by the brethren of the lodge for a period of 1 year. He is, quote-unquote, the boss, and the well-ruling of this lodge is in his hands. You will notice that the master's jewel is the square, and you have already learned the square and the compasses represent the craft. To his right is the immediate past master. He was the master last year. He has an important function in that since he made all of the usual mistakes that a master can make during a year in the office, he now is in a position of being able to correct the master, give him opinions and advice, and prompt him as necessary. The immediate past master's jewel is the square, from which is suspended a geometrical design of historical significance to the Mason. To the master's left is a chair which is reserved for any dignitary who might visit or anyone else within the lodge of master's rank or higher, whom the master might invite to sit beside him. The area to the right of the master is reserved for past masters or visiting masters from other lodges, while the area to his left is reserved for Grand Lodge officers. Masonry, like any business, has a head office and a president. Our head of office is at this point you would put in the location of your own Grand Lodge office, so for me here in Illinois it's Springfield. And our president is the Grand Master. This year it is Brother Barry D. Weir. The brethren who are responsible for Masonry in each jurisdiction across the country are what we refer to as Grand Lodge officers, and they are either elected or appointed to the Grand Lodge. You will notice that they wear very colorful regalia, and they are wise men of Masonry. They keep a close eye on proceedings, and when I get finished this evening, they will not be reticent to point out any errors which I may have made during this presentation. Here we have the secretary, and no business or organization could get along without a secretary, and it is certainly no different in Masonry. The lodge secretary performs a myriad of duties and is critical to the success and the well-running of the lodge. His jewel is the crossed goose quills, which in early times were used to transcribe the proceedings. It is one of the duties to keep a written record of all meetings. As a matter of fact, the first meeting ever held in my lodge, which was in 1849, of course I'm speaking about my lodge personally, was duly recorded by the secretary of that day and is available in the archives. In a like manner, the events of this evening are being recorded together with your name and will go down in the minutes as part of our lodge history. Next to the secretary is the treasurer. It is his responsibility to look after the accounts of the lodge and to record all receipts and expenditures. For example, he will record the dollar of which you were relieved this evening. His jewel is the crossed keys, which have reference to the coffers or strongbox in which the resources of the lodge were kept in years gone by. Here we have the junior warden. The junior warden and the senior warden, along with the master, are the principal officers of the lodge, and they will normally progress from one chair to the next. In this way, then, the junior warden, if he behaves himself and keeps his nose clean, he will probably be elected senior warden next year, and the senior warden will likewise be elected to the master's chair. The junior warden's jewel is the plum, which is the emblem of uprightness. On each side of the junior warden sits the stewards. Their jewel is the cornucopia or the horn of plenty. It is the emblem assigned to the stewards because of their function is in administering to the brethren at the hours of refreshment. The junior steward's chair is the first chair in the lodge as one proceeds upward to the master's. Here we have the senior warden, whom I have already referred to. He has a similar function to the junior warden in assisting the master in the well-ruling of the lodge. His emblem is the level, the emblem of equality. You are already well acquainted with the junior deacon, as he was a Mason who guided you around the lodge room tonight during your degree. We have both a junior deacon and a senior deacon, and they both have a similar function in various degrees as they assist wardens and masters in duties of the lodge. Their jewels depict a dove and alludes to the dove which was released by Noah and returned to the ark with an olive branch. You also know something about the outer guard, or the tiler, in many lodges, and the inner guard, since they were the first people you met when you were about to enter the lodge. The outer guard is responsible to see that none but Masons get into the lodge room, and the inner guard has a similar function. The inner guard's jewel is the crossed swords, and the outer guard's jewel sports a single sword. They recall the flaming sword. The director of ceremonies, or the marshal in many lodges, is responsible to see that the ceremonies and degrees are well rehearsed, and that the brethren know their work to the credit of the lodge. You will often see him with a furrowed brow and sweaty palms as he watched the degree work, and probably sees things which you wouldn't notice, but which, in his desire to achieve perfection, keeps his worry level high. His emblem or jewel is the crossed rods depicting the marshal's baton, originally the officer in charge of the king's horses, but which has come to have certain ceremonial duties in respect to the marshalling of processions. The director of ceremonies also attends to any ceremony in which the lodge might be involved. The organist is responsible for the music of the lodge, and his jewel is the lyre. The chaplain looks after the spiritual side of our meetings, and his jewel is the volume of sacred law, mounted on a triangle. This is the altar you will find in every Masonic lodge. It is in the center of the building. On the altar lies the volume of sacred law. This book can be different depending upon where the lodge is situated in the world, and will always allude to the beliefs of the brethren in that particular area. It is not uncommon for more than one book to be on the altar depending on where we are. For example, if you were to go to lodge in Jerusalem, you would find 4 books upon the altar alluding to the various beliefs in that city. It is important to know that everything which we do in Masonry emanates from a volume of sacred law, lying here on the altar, and it is the focal point of Masonry. Here we have what we refer to as the rough and perfect ashlars. Now, as you begin your Masonic journey, you have been likened to the rough ashlar, which you will notice has some form, but it still is very rough. This alludes to the fact that you have been investigated, and your brethren have determined that you are fit and proper person to become a Mason. Now begins the work, using our Masonic tools of chipping away at all that you do not need to be a Mason among men. Eventually, this rough ashlar will become more like the one we see across the lodge room, and which we refer to as the perfect ashlar. Masonry does not add anything to you as a man, but rather takes away anything that you do not need. Masonry, then, is a journey which you have begun tonight. A journey, if you like, that takes you from the rough ashlar to the perfect ashlar. Masonry is not something that you arrive at, but rather Masonry is something that is ongoing, in which you will spend the rest of your life aspiring to perfection. However, if you look at closely the perfect ashlar, you will see that it is not perfect, because nothing in this mortal world is perfect. We spend our lifetime as Masons, as I have said, aspiring to perfection until eventually we leave this world and go to the Grand Lodge above. You will get out of your Masonic journey in relationship to what you are prepared to give of yourself and your talent. It is my hope, and the hope of the brethren here assembled tonight, that you will continue your Masonic journey, that you will take your obligations seriously, and that you will, with the help of your brethren, make place for yourself in Masonic circles. Congratulations and best wishes to you, brother. So again, this paper that I just finished reading is actually something that's designed to be read to a bunch of candidates maybe who just came through, or a brother who you just conferred a degree upon. And in several parts of that, I interjected what they were asking for in the paper, which was specific lines that fit my jurisdiction or my lodge. So for instance, when it talked about the Grand Master, I said Barry D. Weir, because he is my current Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of the state of Illinois. So a final note on the paper is, the Walkabout is given immediately following the EA degree and is intended to be a general explanation of the chairs in the lodge room. Take the candidate by the left arm and commence an informal walk around the lodge. When referring to the officer's jewels, have the appropriate jewel held up in order that the new brother may see what is being explained. Keep the entire procedure in a light vein and introduce some humor where possible. And this paper was actually produced by Right Worshipful Brother Edward Peters. He is a District Deputy Grand Master back in 1988 and 89. So of course with this paper, it's really cool. I think you guys, if you're a Mason, you can adopt this and bring this into your lodge, and you can amend it to be whatever you need it to be. But I think it's a really nice tool to use for new brothers coming in. And if you're listening to this and you're not yet a Mason, now if you petition, and when you petition, I hope you do, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable when you come into the craft. So that paper is available to you via PDF if you have the app for this show. Our apps are the way that you can support this show. We do that in various ways. Of course, we have the Windows 8 app, the Apple app, and the Android app. All three do the same thing, and they're very similar. What they allow you to do is stream the show anywhere you are. You can download your favorite episodes. You can mark them. You can basically do anything you want with them. That's a pretty nice program. The main benefit of it is you buy the app for $2. But what you get in return is, for the $2 one time, you get every paper that I can post via PDF into that app. So if you're listening to this and you have the app, you can actually download that piece which I just read, and you can actually print it out, do whatever you want with it. You can amend it and make it for your lodge. It's just some thoughts. In addition to the papers, I also put together a weekly Masonic wallpaper for your mobile device, and those are different every week. Another way people tend to donate to this show is through PayPal donations. If you go to www.wcypodcast.com, which is our website, and you click the Support the Show button, you will have all the options that I'm talking about. PayPal is the most popular way people choose to donate to a program, and I can't thank you guys all enough. In fact, we just got a huge donation from Brother Sunny Storms. Thank you so much, brother, for the generous donation. Additionally, as I talked about earlier, Brother Tech's new book, he is sending $1 to us for every copy that he sells. Brother Steve Harrison is doing the same thing. There will be links to both of those in the wcypodcast.com bookstore, and you'll see that if you click on that link when you go to the website. Two other places. Who doesn't like shopping? So we have Onnit.com. They make things like Alpha Brain and Hemp Force Protein, all natural, amazing health supplements and workout equipment. If you go there, click through our links and you enter the promo code WCY, you'll get 10% off, and they send a little bit back to us. If you are as big as a Freemasonry geek as I am, check out FreemasonryArt.com. Brother Juan Sepulveda of the Winding Stairs, and also a panelist on the Masonic Roundtable podcast, puts his Masonic art and even does custom-made aprons for brothers via his website. Amazing stuff. So much talent. I mean, I could spend an hour talking about it, but the program length doesn't allow it. So if you want to see more, and you really should check it out, check out www.freemasonryart.com. And if you use the promo code WCY at checkout, Brother Juan will send a little donation back to the show. Alright, so the next piece that I found is called Masonry Founded in Nature. It was in the Freemasons monthly magazine in 1842. Here we go. Masonry founded in nature. Whatever is founded in nature is permanent, and although it may frequently be blended with the transient combinations, it still remains a part of a creation. The plant may be cut down by the frosts of winter, or by the ruthless hands of the destroyer, but the root still lives in all its inherent strength and natural energies. It waits but to receive the warmth of the genial sun to put forth anew its stalks and branches, and its fruits and flowers. We need not say how many times Freemasonry has been conquered and disgraced, for such has been asserted of it in every civilized country, and still it lives. In common parlance, it dares to live. Whatever is founded in nature cannot but live. Its chief principle is life, and whatever constitutes life is morally good, as whatever is evil is essentially death. Therefore, it is not optional with men whether good things shall be permitted to exist, for it is not within the power of human agency to destroy them. Such is the wise provision of nature, that though the evils of this world appear many, the blessings are more. The balance of moral power is on the side of goodness, and the cause of right and justice does not depend upon conventional decisions. It was decreed in France that, quote-unquote, death was an eternal sleep. And what was the effect of such a vote upon the glorious doctrines of the morality of the soul? It was decreed by the monarch of all the Russias that a person who should presume to practice Freemasonry within his dominions should suffer death. Time soon developed his weakness and his folly. Politicians of every age and country have denounced the institution of Masonry as fraught with evils unnumbered and unlimited. But time has cut down these prophets and their prophecies as transitory and unnatural. Excitement is incident to party movements, and party measures are seldom dictated by that judgment which is guided by reason. Passion results in confusion, and confusion leads to error. Party discipline is never based upon the immutable principles of justice, and therefore no party succeeds in all its view and measures. There may have been many errors in the conduct of Masons, and in the administrations of Masonry, but the principles of the institution are permanently good and will forever remain so. Nations may rise and fall, parties organize, reorganize, and disorganize. Great minds act and react upon one another. Till the last hour of mortal strength, injustice and cruelty may reign during the common period of human life. Still, the elements of all fundamental laws of our moral nature remain unchanged. Institutions based upon these laws may be opposed and even suspended in their operations, but never destroyed. We consider that evidence complete, which is confirmed by the scrutiny of the wise of past ages. The good men of different ages are independent of those prejudices which influence the good men of the same age, and whatever is the result of united wisdom thus collected may be regarded as in harmony with the laws of nature, and not in opposition to the will of nature's God. Masonry has been tried, judged, and proved. She has risen superior to her enemies in every age, and it is because of her inherent energies are truth, love, justice, and mercy. All parties, powers, circumstances, and events in opposition to these are but the poisonous vapors of evil passions, which flit in momentary glory, and then sink back to unsubstantial confusion. Masonry is adapted to human nature, and so long as nature is true to herself, so long will Masonry prove true to man. I hope you enjoyed that. The next piece is going to be the famous Freemason of the week. This one is Turner Ashby Jr., born October 23rd, 1828, and he passed away on June 6th, 1862. He was actually a Confederate cavalry commander in the American Civil War. He had achieved prominence as Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson's cavalry commander in the grade of colonel in the Shenandoah Valley before he was killed in the Battle of Good's Farm. Although he is sometimes referred to as a general, and his name often appears in lists of Confederate generals, his appointment as brigadier general was never confirmed by the Confederate Senate. He died 2 weeks after his appointment, and the Confederate Senate did not act to confirm the appointment during that time. He was also known as the quote-unquote Black Knight of the Confederacy. It was kind of his nickname. Stonewall Jackson's report on the engagement sums up the man. although considering Jackson's resistance to Ashby's promotion, the eulogy might be an exaggeration in favor of the young man. He said, "As a partisan officer, I never knew his superior. His daring was proverbial, his powers of endurance almost incredible, his tone of character heroic, and his sagacity almost intuitive in divining the purposes and movements of the enemy." All right, that's it for this week. Please find us on Facebook, follow on Twitter at Whence Came You. There's no question mark in there, it's just Whence Came You, all one word. If you can, please check out the Midnight Freemasons. You can find us there 3 times a week posting articles, and those come out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They publish at 7 a.m., so they're there for you first thing in the morning. Check it out before you go to work. Maybe check it out on your lunch break. It's really good short material, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. We put a lot of energy and good things into that website, and I can't say enough good things about the contributors of that website. So you can find it again at www.midnightfreemasons.org. That's .org. If you like what you read there, we do submit to the Working Tools magazine. In fact, Brother Corey Sigler, the editor, has an entire section for us every month that we can make it into the magazine. And so you can check out the Working Tools magazine at twtmag.com, and there are a multitude of subscription options. PDFs, you can do in print, electronic, newsstand, it's all there. It's really cool. It is the largest independent Masonic magazine in America, so check it out. I would also invite you guys to go check out our new website that we started for the Masonic Roundtable, which, if you don't know already, I've talked about it in the past. It is a newer show that we started just a while back, about 23 weeks ago actually, and it is like The View that you would watch on TV, right? But instead of ladies talking about all manner of things, gossip and all this, it's actually 5 Freemasons and sometimes a special guest talking about Masonry today. Different topics. We've covered affinity lodges. We've covered clandestine Masonry. We've covered esoterics 101 per se. We've covered some really nice things, and we are putting all of those episodes up on iTunes as well as an audio podcast. Primarily, it's a video show that comes out. We do it via Google Hangouts, and it goes live on Tuesday nights at 10/9 Central every Tuesday. Now, again, we are a little bit behind in posting the audio for those on iTunes because we have to strip the audio out of the video, we have to recode it, we have to put it up on our servers, and that costs money too. So if you guys can, check out the MasonicRoundtable.com, click on the shop, and we have come up with a nice pin, the Masonic Roundtable pin that says "More Light." It's a very, very nice pin. It was designed by Brother Whence and Brother Jason Richards, and even Brother Jason's wife. She did a tremendous job putting the pin together for us in Illustrator and got it all squared away, and it looks great. It's a really nice pin. It's a $10 item, and that money goes right into hosting that show. It helps us host all the audio files and all that, so check that out. We have the 2 new additions to the bookstore here on WCYpodcast.com. Of course, you're going to find the new book by Brother Tech and also the new book by Brother Steve Harrison. Their links will be going to the Kindle versions of those, and I hope you guys pick those up, because every time you do pick one of those up, $1 comes back to our show thanks to the generosity of 2 tremendous brothers that I just can't thank enough. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you all next week. Stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson.